All right. Welcome, everybody, to Motivational Monday. Give it up for yourself. Let me move this, get this just right. We've got some people on Zoom. You can see them here in the camera. We all can see you. I'm going to go to gallery view. All right. You're on your side, Mikey Ray. How you doing? Good to see you. I don't know if you can tell. All right. And I'm going to go like this. I'm going to spotlight video. All righty. Okay. I'm actually going to go back to speaker view. There you go. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Motivational Monday. So happy to have you all here and happy to have a number of you there on Zoom. For those of you who maybe it's your first time, my name is Jan Zanz. And hi, Jan. And, you know, I call myself something different almost every single time. But what I've been calling myself lately, besides Jan, is a love life coach. Because that's really what my intention is. My intention is to teach people, provide tools, give support on helping people live a life that they love. Yes. And, right? And so there's all sorts of parts to living a life that you love. There's, you know, loving yourself. There's loving the situations that you're in, your present life experience, the future that you're building towards, taking care of your body, taking care of your heart, taking care of your mind, all of those things. So that's what I do. And so we have Motivational Mondays here every Monday. And usually there's a really pretty woman right next to me who's, I know. We don't like to tell you that she's not going to be here in advance because then no one shows up. All right, we know the truth. I know you always do. I appreciate that very much. I'm kidding. So, but no, she's actually speaking at the entrepreneurial program at USC today. So that's pretty cool. So we're sending her a lot of. Hopefully, she's having a lot of fun there. But you guys get me today without her. But it is kind of fun because we like to go back and forth, and you guys get different perspectives. So, what are we talking about today? Well, what do we do in Motivational Monday? So a lot of you, this may actually be your first time. I sent out an invitation to Motivational Mondays to a big group of over about 200 fraternity members of mine. So I think some of them are actually online right now, so this would be their first time. So what exactly is Motivational Mondays? Well, Motivational Monday is designed to help kick off, to jumpstart a really powerful, awesome, extraordinary week. Because we've all heard the expression, thank God it's Friday. So a lot of people, what they do is they live their life just trying to get through the week in order to get to the weekend so that they can numb themselves and forget about how crappy the week was. Or maybe have fun, whatever it is. That's just one way of doing it. But the whole point is, wouldn't it be great if you could wake up, have an extraordinary Monday morning, and have every day be extraordinary and not be looking forward to a present someday, some way, maybe, but actually have today, have the moment be awesome. So that's the intention of Motivational Mondays. And the way we do that is we explore different topics. We like to provide tools to help get through the things that may be getting in our way of feeling happy, of loving ourselves, of loving the present situation, of loving the moment. And what I'm actually in a master's program in spiritual psychology, and one of the things they talk about a lot is that the natural state of human beings is happy. The natural state of human beings is joyful. And what happens, because you can see babies, you know, when typically most babies, when they are, or puppies, when they are, I want to make sure we're including everybody. Yes, thank you. Okay, good, right? Most babies, when they are well rested, when they are well fed, when they are given love, they're happy. So the natural state of human beings is happy. And when we're not feeling happy, when we're not feeling joyful, when we're not feeling energy, it's usually because there's some layers of stuff, of life on top of it that's having us not feel that way. So a lot of times people like to say, I'm really trying to connect to my happiness, or I'm really trying to find my happiness. And I would have you consider that your happiness is always there, but actually it's the connecting to it. It's there, and it's removing the layers on top that are getting in the way from you being able to actually feel it, experience it, and connect to it. So that's what we do a lot in Motivational Mondays, is we learn tools on how to kind of get through those things, release those things. You're gonna kill me with that rice cake the whole time. Okay. You know, I know, that's part of his happiness. I'm taking away your happiness.
All right, that makes me sad.
That he's eating, or what he eats. So part of being happy is making sure you're nourishing your body, and we like to make sure we eat every 2 to 3 hours. So sharing with others. So there's someone here in the front row who's very committed to his fitness and to giving his body what he needs. And so it's time to eat. I hear you. I hear you. Okay, last bite. Okay, there you go. So, what are we talking about today? Well, okay, we're talking about rice cakes. We're talking about lots of things. I'll tell you where we're starting, and I don't know where we're going. And I find every Motivational Monday class is a little bit different. And Heather's nodding her head because she knows. Everyone is a little bit different, because sometimes I come in and I'm clear, like, this is the lesson, these are the tools, this is the exercise, this is what I want you guys to experience, and you're gonna leave here and it's like packaged and I'm clear like what the result's gonna be. Today's gonna be a little bit different. Today's gonna be, we're gonna start a conversation and I'm gonna provide a series of tools, but we're gonna really explore it together. And an exercise that we might do on our own may come up, it may not. And this may be a 30-minute class, maybe a 1-hour class, we'll see. But I've got a list of stuff that I'm excited to talk about. So what was the inspiration for today? So a friend of mine from college just passed away from cancer. So that was very sad, and it is very sad. And so this weekend, I went up to the Bay Area and we had a celebration of his life. And it was really inspiring. It was really great because I got to see, I don't know how many of my fraternity brothers, because he was in my fraternity, I may have said that. And it was really, there was a lot of highs because I got to reconnect with people that I haven't seen in 20 years. And of course, there was the low of the reason why we were all there together. So it was very bittersweet. And when I woke up this morning, I didn't want to get out of bed. I really was not excited about anything because I was really feeling the weight of the whole experience. And I didn't want to be here in front of you all today. And so I hopped in the shower, which is my thinking place. I'm sorry about its impact on the drought, because it's not very, I'm not saving water, but it's where I do my best thinking. Although my wife has buckets in our shower, by the way. This is how I'm going to tangent for a second. She actually has a big bucket in the shower because it takes about 2 minutes for a shower to go from cold water to hot water. And so that way the water doesn't get wasted. So she takes the bucket and goes out and waters her plants. So there you go. Shout out to my wife and how amazing she is, right? It's what you do when no one's watching. That's what she does. And I feel guilty because I don't. I leave the water in there. Anyhow, okay. So I'm in the shower and I'm thinking, what is there to talk about? So one of the things that you guys may have heard me say is everybody falls down, but it's the speed at which you get back up that makes all the difference. And so I'll say that again. You can write that down if you want. Everybody falls down, but it's the speed at which you get back up that makes all the difference. So what are examples of falling down? Because there's lots of them. So falling down might be getting into a disagreement or an argument with somebody. Maybe your partner, your spouse, a friend, or something. Falling down may be falling off of your fitness plan. You didn't go to the gym today. Okay, now I'm not going to go tomorrow. I'm not going to go tomorrow. or your nutrition plan, or your healthy eating plan. So falling down, or I'm sober and I'm gonna have a drink. Oh, and now I'm gonna have another one because why not? Because I already had one, right? So falling down could look like that. Falling down might be losing a job. You get fired, you get let go. It might be losing a client. It might be losing an opportunity. So these are things. Falling down feels like a punch in the gut. Falling down, could also be something way more significant, losing a friend. So these are all examples of falling down. Some are more significant than others, but the truth is, when it comes to feelings, yes, with perspective, some seem small and some seem big, but whenever we're experiencing it, typically feelings feel huge to whoever it is. Like when it's your feeling, it might be something small, like I fell off my plan, I'm not going to the gym today, but we often experience it this way. So that's one tip, is not to judge other people's feelings, because when you're experiencing it, that's how it often feels. So those are examples of falling down. And the one that I like to give, because in terms of the speed at which you can get back up, is my family. Because my family, not so much my nuclear family, my intimate family, but my extended family, as a whole bunch of crazies. Okay, so I know there's a lot of judgment there, but there's a whole bunch of crazies. Okay, and so there's a story that's kind of legendary that like 30 something years ago, or maybe actually even more than that now, somebody was born. And there was like a miscommunication. Like somebody was supposed to drive someone to the hospital to see the newborn, but they didn't. They went directly. One person said, no, you weren't supposed to. And the other one said, you did. And they just stopped talking to each other. And the minute they just put their heels in the sand and declared, you're wrong, I'm not talking to you anymore, that's how it was. So like weddings, bar mitzvahs, I don't know if you guys have had any of these experiences, like family reunions, people on one side and then people on the other, right? You know what I'm talking about? Because everyone knows they don't talk. They're mad at each other, okay? So I've got one person who's definitely knows exactly what I'm talking about. And yet it's something that could have been resolved really easily. But that's one example of falling down and taking a long time to get back up, right? And the truth is actually that, yeah, one of the people in the argument's not here anymore on the planet. So they never got back up. And so that seems silly to me. So that's just one example. Do you guys have anyone, I shared a bunch of them. Is there anybody who has another example of a falling down that came forward to you while I was sharing the list of falling downs, in case I missed any? Anyone on Zoom want to share? Yeah, Blaine?
Injuries.
Okay, injuries. Coming from the guy who's had 3 ACL surgeries. That is falling down. Yes. Did you raise your hand?
No.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, but that's a great one. You're right. So really, basically falling down is anything that could cause you to enter a spiral. Now, just to make sure that we don't need to switch topics and start talking about something totally new, has anyone here ever found themselves that they've fallen down and entered a spiral, whether it should be short or long? So this is useful. This is something. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. That's good. On Zoom, you can raise your hand, and someone raised their hand there via Zoom as well. Great. Thank you. Okay, good. So basically what I have for today is just a list of ways to get back up. And there's all sorts of different tools. And some of them may be relevant to a situation. Others may be, basically what I like to think of it is you've got your tool set, and you can have a hammer, you can have a screwdriver, you can have a wrench, and the hammer might not be the right tool for that situation. You might need a screwdriver. You might need a wrench. So we're going to provide different tools, and different tools will be used for different situations. So the first thing is just having awareness. Having the awareness that you've fallen down. So most people get that pretty quickly because the awareness is, I'm not feeling good inside. Something is off. I'm upset. A lot of people, especially people who haven't been in Motivational Monday or who haven't done transformational work or this type of personal development, self-help work, may not have that awareness. They may just be in the anger and maybe in the upset. And what that looks like is blame. So that looks like taking no responsibility and it's all the other person's fault and I am right. So if you find yourself not taking responsibility and blaming things around you, then that's something you can note to yourself, although that's really difficult when you're inside of it to sometimes see it yourself, but that's a note and how to create the awareness about that. All right, so how do you shift? How do you get back up? Okay, so here's the first one. This is gonna be a little physical exercise. I want everyone to stand up if you don't mind. Heather, I'm sorry, you're comfy, I know. All right, we're all gonna do 10 jumping jacks together, okay? Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, look around. Everyone's smiling.
Yeah.
You see that? Everyone is smiling. So nice. There you go. Good job on Zoom, everybody. Woo! I saw you guys. Good form. Nice work. Excellent. So a physical state change. That's the first one. And if you've ever taken any sort of Tony Robbins class, that's like, I'm borrowing from Tony Robbins. He calls it state change. And he usually yells at you when he's doing it. State change. Okay. Thank you. Is that how you talk to your dog?
No.
Okay. 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 Good. No. Okay. Good. All right. That's just a forceful command.
No.
But yeah. No. Okay.
Open and honest communication.
What's open and honest communication? Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Good. You're gonna come and teach Motivational Monday.
I've got lots of good lessons.
You know what? We're coming up soon. We're gonna have Jake talk. We're gonna have Jake talk about. Well, basically, like what I learned about relationships with people through training my dog.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Back to this. Okay. State change. So when you do any sort of exercise, immediately your brain starts releasing endorphins and hormones and all sorts of stuff that the brain immediately uses to stimulate happiness and joy and things like that. So immediately, so my wife said this morning, why don't you go to the gym? You know, go for a run. I took a shower. So that was my state change. But that's the first thing. If you're feeling like you fell down, so that's the first part. That's one way of, getting back up. State change. The next one, contribution. So contribution is awesome. Because when you're giving to others, what you're doing is you're getting out of your own circumstance and providing for others and getting into others, getting into their space, getting into their life, and just being of service. So contribution is an extraordinary way, which is what I said to myself this morning when I said part of Motivational Mondays will be my opportunity to contribute.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. And I'll go through these again if you want to write these down, the ones that you want, the ones that you like. Okay, here's the next one. This is a great one. Give up being right. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes you're right. Like, there's no doubt you are right. There have been times when, no, my wife's not here. She would still approve. It's easier to tell the story when she's not here, though. There have been times when I am right, and she's telling me, you did not tell me this. And I'm like looking at the text. Here's the text. See, I told you this, right? I am right. And if I show her that text, forget about it. I'm even more wrong.
You never got it.
Right?
I didn't see it.
So there you go.
I never saw it.
There you go. It didn't come through. But the point is that at least, so in my marriage, we're committed to a long-term goal, a long-term relationship. We have a long-term commitment. And the little things along the way, sometimes being right about them doesn't serve us. And so sometimes you just have to give up being right. Because one of the things that you hear us say here a lot is the lesson that my way is not the only way. So this is, some of you may have heard this before, but I'm just using little opportunities to tangent, and then we'll bring it back. But one of the things that we like to talk about on Motivational Mondays is that everyone has their own perspective to essentially everything. Like everything we're experiencing, we are observing it with our own eyes, our own ears, our own nose for smelling. It's filtering it through our brain. We all have our own lens. And so we all, even if it's the identical situation, we all see it and experience it a little bit differently. And the example that I use is movies, because I have a background in screenwriting. And so when I watch a movie, I'm watching the movie through the lens of the characters and the choices that they're making and the dialogue. And like I watch Game of Thrones and I just love the dialogue because it is just short, concise, and powerful and extraordinary. And an actor would be watching that same episode of Game of Thrones and be watching the choices that the actor makes or the actors make. And so everyone's looking at it through their own lens. There's a funny expression that I heard that every nail, every hammer, okay, what is it? It's again, okay. A hammer always sees the problem as a nail. Is that what it is? It's not it. Okay, I'm doing poorly on that one. But the point is, again, it's like this. Here's another little tangent. If you have a stomach ache and you go to a chiropractor, it's possible that the chiropractor is going to say that you're out of alignment. And so that's what's causing your digestive issues. And if you go to a nutritionist, they're going to talk about what you're eating. And if you go to an acupuncturist, they're going to say, your chakras are off and your energy's off. And if you go to a therapist, they're going to say, oh, that's pure psychological. You're internalizing everything. So the point is, everyone has their own experience for the same things. So they say if you ask a barber if you need a haircut, the answer is going to be yes. So, okay, so giving up being right. So there's a program called the Landmark Forum, and the Landmark Forum leaders, they say that one of the things that they do so powerfully that causes them to live, their lives is they can give up being right like that. Like, okay, that's how the situation was. This is how I interpret it. Okay, now I can give up being right. So giving up being right, really what it does is it gives up the context of right and wrong. Because when you live inside of right and wrong, you often live inside of good and bad, and there's judgment. So if you get outside of who's right and who's wrong, and just how are we having this situation unfold in a way that's going to best serve all of our goals. With me? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Okay, so that is give up being right. And here is the next one. Now I'm going to pause for a second because I've been going through these. Does anyone have anything they want to add? Is there anyone who wants to, you're excited to share something that's come forward based on what we said so far? Any situations that they've dealt with? Let me just see here. I'm just checking in. All right. You guys all with me? You all good? Oh, Parker, you wanted to share. Go for it.
Yeah, so when you said the situation giving up being right and wrong, even if you feel like you're absolutely right. So without going too into it, a long time ago, my mother, prior to my mom's passing, had a major or I should say, I felt like when she was going through her experience that led to her passing, I felt that she had been wronged by some of my family members. And so I had really drew a line in the sand, where I was committed to not having a relationship with the people who I felt had wronged her. And what I found over time in the years following her passing was that I had no idea what was happening for my other family members, what was going on in their life. And chances were they weren't thinking about me or how I felt about them. And as I really experienced that more, and that it was really hurting me as opposed to anyone else, that it was my energy, and I was, that was something that was like a poison that was living inside of me. I made the decision, and it was a process to call them up and hear them out and forgive them. And even though they demonstrated that they didn't necessarily understand exactly what I was saying, or maybe weren't capable of it, for me, it was more about my forgiveness and releasing that energy attached to that, that I could move forward and not hold like a grudge or hold something over them. So that was, and I felt like even in tying it back to what you were saying before about falling down, in a way that was also a way of not getting back up, was holding on to that energy or that grudge. And I definitely felt a overwhelming release when I was able to get to that place and have that conversation.
That's great. That's great that you did that. And you're right. When holding a grudge, it's often very much that you're carrying weight around, and the other people don't even know it. And you're just carrying. Monica and I like to use the analogy of a backpack, and it's literally you're carrying around this backpack full of bricks. It's weight. If you see that person, you're like, right? And there's this negativity that you have towards that person, and so they're often like oblivious to that. And all you're doing is carrying the weight of your judgment about what they did. So, and by the way, yes, thank you, Allie. So that's really, really useful. We got someone else raising their hand. Here we go. Hi, Precious. I'm going to unmute you and put you in spotlight. Go for it.
I was just saying that we can't hear you anymore.
Oh, no. You can't hear me?
Nope.
Can you, Jeanette, are you able to hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, good. Okay, great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Anything you wanted to share? Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Let me go back. Okay. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, good. All right, great. So the next one. This is one of my favorites. A lot of you have heard this before. I'm going to mute participants. Okay. The next one. A lot of you have heard this one as well. Looking for the lesson. A great way of getting back up after falling down, which is what we're talking about today. A great way of getting back up is really taking on the belief that you fell down for a reason, and that there was a lesson to be learned. And so that's always like really, really powerful. We had this disagreement so that we could then have this conversation, and then therefore, now we have this new connection. We have this new hope. We have this new, way of communicating, this new belief that we haven't had before. So looking for the lesson. And, sometimes the lesson shows itself up really clearly. And sometimes the lesson won't appear for, who knows, maybe years. And if you believe in this, sometimes the lesson may not appear in this lifetime. Because, when you go back to certain situations, like, with my friend who just passed away, it was really extraordinary. And some of you may have heard the story, but so he was diagnosed in January, and we thought we should raise some money to support him and his family. And he loved basketball and he loved March Madness. So we said, why don't we do a March Madness pool, and everyone can just give their money to the pool, and it doesn't matter who wins. Actually, the winner gets to present the check of all the winnings to him and his family. And so we did that. But what we then did was we then actually started to just forget if the pool costs $20 to go in, like how much do you want to give, how much you want to give, how much you want to give, and let's like raise a lot of money. And it was just my fraternity, but it was my year, the year before, a couple years before, a couple years after, and actually started spanning quite a few years. And we ended up raising $110,000.
Wow.
Right? Amazing. And all of these people who hadn't connected in over 20 years, we were talking every single day. And like, it was like that bond was just back in a second. And it never, I don't know what happened there. It never would, the bond that we have now never would have occurred if this hadn't happened. Now, none of us are happy about the fact that this is what brought us together, but who knows? Maybe this was specifically designed, when you look at life over the course of centuries, that's what he was designed to do. Part of it was to bring us together for some purpose. You never know. I love the story that Steve Jobs, I refer to this speech all the time, the Steve Jobs commencement speech at Stanford. And if you haven't seen it, Google Steve Jobs commencement speech, Stanford. And he talks about connecting the dots backwards, that you can't often connect the dots forward. And I often give the example where he got fired from Apple, but there's another one that I love. That was when he went to college, he took a Japanese calligraphy class. And he didn't do it for any other reason other than he loved it. He thought it was interesting. And he happened to be at a school, a small, liberal arts school that happened to offer this program, and very few schools do. Well, he loved it. And when doing this Japanese calligraphy class, there's no reason that he ever thought it would be useful. But when they were designing the Apple computer and creating the fonts for it, he integrated a lot of what he learned into the fonts, and that's why Apple's fonts are so beautiful and so rich, and so they have such a variety. And so there was no clear reason for, at the time, what's the lesson that's going to come out of this? But sometimes it takes a while, and he was able to look back afterwards and go, oh, this is exactly why I was in this class. This is exactly why I took it. And you often can't connect the dots. So, when someone passes away, there seems to be no lesson, often, at least in this situation. And this is where, for me personally, I just have the faith that at some point, I know that it's going to show up. I know that I will learn the lesson. Let me reconnect to the screen. Otherwise, it's going to start showing pictures of my family. Okay. All right. Let me go back here. Great. Okay. Looking for the lesson. By the way, so let's say it's an argument between two people. And then, sometimes after a big thunderstorm, what comes after that?
Rainbow.
The rainbow. And, you could say that that's like the lesson. After an argument between a couple, this is funny. What happens sometimes afterwards? Makeup sex. Okay? Right? There you go, rainbows. That's why you see how, I just went with the rainbows first, so it was clean and pretty. And rainbows and unicorns, we're talking about makeup sex. Oh, what? Right. Okay. Yes. So anyhow, that's often the lesson. The lesson also might be looking for what came afterwards. Okay. So really, Okay, so those are some. Oh, and here's another one: gratitude list. Okay.
I didn't even get that until you said that. Wow.
Okay.
We're done with that.
Yeah, gratitude list. Gratitude list. Right? Gratitude list. Okay. So if you feel like if you've fallen down, what's a great way to get back up? Look for all the things that you're grateful for. We all know that gratitude lists are awesome for building the muscle, gratitude, creating more happiness. And again, that's kind of the same thing as being of contribution, where you're getting out of your own circumstance, which is often a woe is me, into another circumstance outside of yourself. And when you're looking at, wow, look how blessed I am, look how grateful I am, then that's often how you can get back up. Okay. So that's my initial list. How are we doing so far?
Awesome.
This good? Is this valuable?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I often like to have a lot more of this, and it may just be my own, I just don't like all of this, but yes, but okay, I'm good. I'm glad that you guys are getting it. Affirmations?
Like affirming that what you're doing is that what you're
Well, what I was going to say is, it's my inner dialogue, so I'm going to move forward. Okay. Lesson on public speaking. Keep your inner dialogue inner. All right. Now, here's the thing. A lot of the things that I just talked about are actually, they're great. They're really great tools and they're great tips. But you can imagine, here's the upset, and we're kind of going around it. We're like, okay, I'm upset. Let me look at what I'm grateful for. Okay, I'm upset. Let me see what the lessons learned. Okay, I'm upset. Oh, there's also kindness, by the way, which is kind of like being of service. I forgot that one, but just doing kind things. But I'm upset. Let me be of contribution. So you could say those are definitely useful tools, and I highly recommend all of them. But at the end of the day, you might still then fall back into, let's say, the sadness, into the judgment about the situation that knocked you down in the first place. So what do? Any guesses on what we do if going around the situation doesn't provide the long-term solution?
Dig into it.
Talk out. What did you say?
Dig into.
Dig in. So going through the emotion is how you get to the other side. Literally like going through the sadness. So one of the things, I used to work with a woman who taught both Monica and me, and she always said, on the other side of sadness is joy. And people often like to get through it, around it, but you can go through it. So how do you go through it? Okay. Well, there are some basic tools that you can do. So the first one is writing. I was going to say writing a letter, but it actually is writing. So there's different things that you can do. So there's something that they teach in my master's program called free-form writing. And what free-form writing is just getting energy out of your body onto a paper and just release it. And so, because if you think about it, if something knocked you down, there's usually judgment around that. Like, I fell off, I didn't work out today. So now there's judgment of, okay, why should I go tomorrow because it's not even worth it? Or whatever it is. There's usually a sadness, there's usually a judgment, there's usually something inside that we get to release. So free-form writing is actually just sitting down. I recommend lighting a candle, and for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just writing whatever is on your mind about the situation. And then what they usually recommend is when you're done with it, and by the way, don't do it in a notebook. Just do it on pieces of paper that are loose pieces of paper. And then when you're done with it, rip it up, or even better, burn it. Put it in a fireplace. Because if you think about it, what are we? This is a whole another conversation, but we're energy, right? We're these bodies and we've got energy. And so when we're feeling down about something, you could consider that we have negative energy inside of us. And one way of releasing that negative energy is through words, through writing. Now, typing doesn't work because it actually accesses a part in your brain when you're doing this. So you need to handwrite it. Don't put it in your notebook. My wife was she was coaching somebody who had years of journals and diaries that were about negativity and pain and trauma and everything she had growing up, all of that, and it was all underneath her bed. That's where she kept all of her journals. And it's no. Get rid of those. Burn them right now. They're not serving you at all. So that's one way of just free form writing. You just sit down, you write it, don't read it again. It doesn't serve you to read it. It's literally going to the bathroom or vomiting. You're just getting it out. You don't want to look at it. Okay? So that's that. Another way of doing it is actually writing a letter. Now, so who are you writing the letter to? And what would the letter encompass? So there's different letters that you can write. So letters are beautiful. And letters could be a letter where, for example, with my friend, I could write a letter to him. And I could just express some feelings, whatever I'm feeling, and that would be a good release of feelings. I could write a letter to God. I could write a letter to myself, okay? Writing a letter. Now, letters could also often be loving because you just want to express feelings that you want to get out. Letters, another thing that Mona, who was a woman that Monica and I worked with, letters can also be these beautiful things called FU letters. And those are the most vulgar, vicious, awful things, the most crazy, awful, horrible thoughts that you could ever think of to say to somebody or maybe even yourself. Because you just got to get that out. And when you're done, don't send it to them. It's not for them. It's a process. I can't tell you, there's been times, there was actually one time recently, and I told someone, so just write a letter expressing all your feelings, get it all out. And they're like, okay, great, I did it, and I sent them. Like, what? Don't do that!
Oh, shit.
But everything worked out exactly as it was supposed to. So that was good. But so an FU letter, and sometimes you write the FU to a person, and sometimes you write it to yourself. But that's really, and it's literally, it's dear blank, FU for this and that and this, and you just get it all out, and then you burn it. And it's amazing how you feel afterwards. So again, what we talked about in the beginning is our authentic state is happiness. Our authentic state is joy. And sometimes we have to work through it. So that's one way of working through the sadness is through writing. And you can kind of plow through it to get to the other side. And that's a great visual, I think, that you can think about it. I need to go through the sadness. I need to go through the anger. I need to go through the upset. I need to go through the judgment. I need to go through the hurt, because on the other side is the rainbow. And that's what I always like to think about. Nature gives us a visual reminder. After the storm, that's when the rainbow comes. So that is one way of working through it. Now, there's another way, and it's good that Monica's here. She might say that this is a little advanced in the world of what we're talking about, but I think it's good to talk about it. So this is the core of everything they teach, or a lot of what they teach in my master's program, is compassionate self-forgiveness. Because usually when we're upset about something, when we've fallen down and we don't get back up, or what's stopping us from getting back up is the weight of the judgment about the situation, or of how we put ourselves in the situation, or of ourselves, or of someone else. But even when we're judging someone else, like they did that wrong, if you go underneath it, like if you're doing like deep work, there's usually judgment about yourself for making them wrong. So one of the things that you can do, and there's all sorts of different ways of forgiving yourself, but one of the things you could do is just write a letter to yourself. So, you know, if we go back to the examples that I gave early on of falling down, and what does it look like when you get back up? So if you have an argument or disagreement, you know, one of the ways you can do it is clearly, you know, talking with the person. But my recommendation is before you talk to the person is to actually do what we talked about, which is write the letter to that person first, or write the letter to yourself first, or do the, hi?
I'm looking for Torrent.
For Taran?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
He's on Zoom. Taran, someone's here looking for you.
What time are you meeting here?
One.
Okay, awesome. It's all concerned.
Will he be downstairs?
Yeah, he'll be downstairs.
Quick intermission.
I was one. It's open.
It's open downstairs, right? Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. I'll open it.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
All right. So, so one of the things that we talk about is if what we're feeling is energy, something that people love to do is throw that energy on the other person. And what's really great is when you can get the energy out somewhere else. And when you write a letter, you're getting the energy out on someone else rather than onto the other person. Do you guys know what I mean in terms of like putting the energy on another person? That would be like yelling at you. That would be like blaming you. And this is really more about like, okay, I'm going to get it all out. And now I'm in the place where I can talk with you calmly because I'm not blaming you so much. I'm not as angry. I'm not as judging you as much. And let it go. So an argument or disagreement. So the one way to get up real quickly is to do the work. So you are giving up being right and you're reconnecting, you're getting that energy out. And then you're talking with the person and you're reconnecting, like, what is it that we're really trying to do here? What is the intention of this relationship? What is the intention of what we're trying to do? And creating a new path to that. Falling off a commitment. So you stopped working out and you haven't been for a while. And then you don't go again. And then you don't go again. And you're like, well, forget it. Like, why should I even go? It's a waste of my time, you know, or a diet or whatever it is. So again, how do we do that? It's, you know, it's really, would you agree that a lot of people experience that it's hard to get started again? Yeah? Well, it's hard because there's the weight of that backpack of all the judgments. Because you go back to the gym and you're lifting weights and you're like, oh, I can't believe I'm only lifting this much weight again when, you know, just 2 months ago I was doing this much weight and it was so much more. I can't believe that I just ran a mile and it took me 12 minutes when a month ago it was 8 minutes. And there's a lot of upset and judgment, and that's that thought, that's the feeling that has people stop from getting up again. So again, you can write a letter, you can forgive yourself, you can, or do any of these other things. Give up being right, look for the lesson. I wonder why I stopped. I actually stopped for this reason. And I'm really glad that I did stop because this is what I got out of it, and now I can start again more powerfully. And then what was the last one? Losing a job, a client opportunity. Again, wow, why was I not supposed to be at that job? Why is this the best thing ever that this happened? Why am I not working with this person? Boy, I'm so glad this person's not in my life anymore. Okay. Ever reviewed and ever said anything like that? Maybe. Yes, for sure. Right? And so again, looking for the opportunity, looking for the lesson that was learned. So I'll go through the list one more time. How do we get back up? State change, as Tony Robbins says. Contribution, give up being right, looking for the lesson, and a gratitude list. So those are some of the basic ones. And then working through it is through letter writing, free-form writing, compassionate self-forgiveness. So for me, you know, I woke up this morning and I was really feeling challenged, and how was I going to, you know, I had mentally the thought of my life is great. I had mentally, you know, like logically the thought of, you know, this happened and there's got to be a reason why it happened, and I just don't know what it is right now. And look at all the good that's come out of it. And I had all of these thoughts, and yet at the end of it, I still just didn't want to do anything. And I had all this work to do, and I just couldn't focus. I couldn't do anything. And so I'm really grateful for you all, because you guys let me practice so much of this. You allowed me to do state change. You allowed me to do contribution. You allowed me to look for the lesson, all of the above. And you know, in one way or another, this was a little bit of a letter, because I was writing stuff down, and I might read some letters as well. So that's today's Motivational Monday. And so before we wrap up, is there anything that anyone, let me go here to gallery view. I told you it was going to be a little bit different. Look at Layla. Nice picture. So before we wrap up, is there anybody else who has anything that they want to share? Anything that came forward? Okay, come on up.
Yeah, Sam.
Here we go, Tammy.
Actually, today I was just talking to Catherine about a little something that happened a year ago. I moved in with my very first roommate, and she ended up being a raging bitch, and I had to move out. And the good thing that came out of it was, I mean, it was an absolute nightmare. So the good thing that came out of it is I'm living with my daughter and my grandkids now. Me and my daughter are building a relationship that we never had.
Great.
As adults.
Awesome.
And we wouldn't even be living together if it wasn't for that.
Great. So you clearly saw the lesson in it.
Clearly.
Awesome. Okay, give it up for Raging Bitches. Great. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And it's true, because you were in the middle of like living with that person, and it clearly was like, wow, why am I suffering?
Yeah.
Why is this so bad?
Yeah, it was really bad.
Okay, great.
But it'd be really good.
Good.
After that.
Good. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, Blaine.
I'll share one.
Come on up, Blaine.
Real quick.
Abby.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. So my name's Blaine. I think I know everybody on there. But yeah, going back to the whole injury story. So 3 knee surgeries, you know, a lot of it was spent like on the couch and just thinking and like watching TV, because it was the only thing I could do. So a lot of it was in my head, you know, thinking about like, why is this happening to me? And like, what is it serving? So I was asking those types of questions, but I had no answers, you know, at the time. So on my third one though, is when I reconnected with Lauren. So there was, I think it was 2 months into my rehab. So thinking about, you know, all these other surgeries that led up to that, and where I was at the time of my third one, it was just after college. I was very open. I was excited for a new career path. And I probably wouldn't have moved back to Pasadena and like lived with my family for a while if it wasn't for my knee surgery. So it's just crazy that I went back to the gym where we reconnected, and now I do Herbalife full time. It's my number one passion in my life. It's given me so much for myself, but also my family. I've been able to come and experience this from Jan now, and like, you know, sit here and just be with these people. And it's just like crazy to think about, you know, these little things that happen in your life that can turn into literally like your life, you know, like this is what I love now. So now it's sharing with other people from having these surgeries and injuries and things that have changed me to become the person I am today, so that they can see themselves, you know, whatever they're going through now can also have the same story in the future. So it's different, you know, you see yourself in one place and in a situation, and now it's like, wow, I get to use that to now share and give to people. So it's been awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blaine. And you know, I'm going to end with one last thing, which is what I really heard you say is like all the stuff that's bringing you a lot of joy right now would have happened if you hadn't had that surgery. And it's like you never would have wished that on yourself. Like, but the reality is that in hindsight, it's like, thank God I tore my ACL, right? Which is a crazy thing to say. But it's really all about having a judgment of the result in the moment. So like literally like looking at the result and saying, this is a bad thing that happened. Or it is bad that I stopped working out. It is bad that I fell off my plan. It is bad that we got into an argument. And that's usually what knocks people down and keeps them down, is the judgment of the result in the moment. Now, with lots of time, you now can see, wow, what happened in the moment was actually a really great thing. So one of the things that they talked about in my class is what happens in life is we learn, we grow, and we wake up, we elevate, we become more loving, we become more experienced, all this stuff. So it's kind of like we do this, right? And then something happens, and then we fall down. And then we get back up, and we learn, and we grow. And I'll show you guys close up in just a second. And then we fall back down. And then we get back up, and then we fall down. Now what happens is we don't get back up, and we fall back down. But now we've fallen down, and it may feel like we fell down a lot, but we're actually way higher than we were, way before. And that's just an accumulation of life experiences. And so often the judgment of where we are because we fell down, with perspective, it's usually, in such a different place than we would have been just years ago. And again, it's the judgment in the moment that what happened is bad. And I'm the reason why this bad thing happened. And if we can give up that what happened was bad, and that we can give up fault or blame that you're responsible for the bad thing, then you're able to really work through it to get to the rainbows. Yeah. And there was my beautiful drawing. You see that? So you go up, and then you fall down, and then you go up, and then you fall down, and you go up, and you fall down, and you go up, and when you fall down, you fell down, and it feels like a big fall, even if it's a big fall, but it's still higher than where you were before. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you for Motivational Monday. I appreciate all of you. We're going to do the famous Tammy selfie.
And the letters work. I've done letters, they're awesome.
Here, we're going back to the old school one because the other one was acting up.
Okay, right.
This is called old school selfie stick.
I like it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everybody's in. Oh, there we are. Hold on. A little higher. There we go. Oh. And. There you go.
Do one more. Do one more.
One
Wait.
more. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, wait. Come on.
There you
we
go.
Hold on. Okay. Yay. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the other one, if you don't have clear Wi-Fi, it cuts out the connection. So I'm like, right. So that'd be a good one for home to get a tripod stand and take my own selfies. My pictures when I do my result pictures.
Yeah.
I figured that would be good for that.
But this one is, sometimes you got to try something and.
Yeah, it works, but it's not dependable. And this one's dependable. You just plug it in.
Good timing of your class. I went to use some earlier.